My half-sister has perished. She met her demise during exile. Unable to bear the humiliation, she plunged headlong into the turbulent river, leaving no trace of her remains. Upon learning of this, Lu Xun did not even remove his armor. Wielding a long whip, he stormed into the courtyard, and the barbed lash fell upon my body repeatedly until my back was reduced to a bloody mess. He clutched the spirit tablet of my half-sister and reproached me, saying, "Had it not been for your coercion through the marriage pact, Schwanger would not have died. Wretched woman, why were you not the one exiled? Why were you not the one to die?" From that day forth, he subjected me to daily beatings and humiliations, rendering me the subject of ridicule throughout the capital. With no maternal family left and being the descendant of a condemned traitor, I could neither flee nor escape, forced to endure and continue managing the dilapidated general's manor on his behalf. Eventually, he achieved great success, yet he poisoned me and turned to welcome the spirit tablet of my half-sister into his home. While many praised his devotion, none noticed my plight as I was locked away in the woodshed, my fingers rotting, spewing forth dark blood, and I languished in agony for a day and a night before finally succumbing. When I next opened my eyes, I beheld Lu Xun rushing towards me with an imperial edict in hand. 1. I have been reborn, returning to the fateful day of my exile. I am yet to wed Lu Xun, thus spared from enduring his daily beatings and insults. Upon seeing Lu Xun galloping towards me, an overwhelming desire to rend his flesh surged within me. The moment I heard a familiar voice behind me, I could not suppress the resentment that bubbled forth. It was my half-sister, Qin Shuang. In my previous life, during our exile, Lu Xun had traded military merit for one life to be spared, choosing between the two of us sisters to save from banishment. My betrothal to him was known throughout the capital, yet he had secretly entwined himself with my half-sister, Qin Shuang, even pledging a lifetime commitment to her in private. Regrettably, I was oblivious to their illicit affair, and my yearning for life, coupled with my affection for him, ultimately compelled me to bring up the matter of our engagement. However, I did not coerce him. It was he who, caught between his fiancé and a clandestine love, reluctantly chose me. I never anticipated that this would become his pretext for inflicting harm upon me. He promised Qin Shuang that he would find a way to rescue her back to the capital in due course. At that time, I foolishly believed that his affection for me extended to my family as well. Little did I know that mere days later, instead of bringing Qin Shuang back, I would receive news of her drowning. Driven to despair by the disgrace she suffered at the hands of the soldiers escorting her. When Lu Xun arrived, he found only a grave adorned with her garments. Upon returning home, he lashed out at me with a barbed whip, accusing me of being a wretch, a harbinger of misfortune. "You forced me into this engagement. I had intended to marry Shuang. I love Shuang, the one I wish to cherish for all my days." He spat, "Wretch, why is it not you who suffered exile? Why is it not you who lies dead?" That day, he unleashed upon me the most venomous curses, humiliating me and turning me into a laughingstock throughout the capital. Yet, he conveniently forgot that it was he who, on a wintry day, knelt before my parents, pleading for our union. He forgot that while he fought on distant battlefields, I was the one who sent him money and supplies, providing him with warm clothing. He also neglected to remember that when the fallen general's household could not afford a physician, it was I who summoned renowned doctors from the capital to treat his mother, procuring precious herbs and personally tending to her bedside. Whenever I missed him or felt overwhelmed, I clung to the hope that he would return, relieving me of this arduous existence. I never imagined that all my genuine affection and hardships would be met with his scorn and violence, alongside his vile epithets. Until he gained military accolades, elevating the once-fallen general's residence to heights of glory. Alas, beasts are forever devoid of hearts. He married the tablet of my half-sister, earning himself the title of a devoted lover, only to forcefully poison me on that very day. What poison was it? I know not. All I comprehend is that it coursed through my heart and lungs, rendering me unable to live or die.
Why?
Why grant me not even the chance to survive? I questioned him, tears streaming down my face. Schwanger could not be my wife in life. Must she also become a member of the Lu family in death? And what of me? Where do I stand? You, merely a coward clinging to life. Though we have not yet exchanged vows, the engagement remains binding.
Now,
the world believes you to be Lu Xun's woman, for the sake of my family's honor and for your own reputation. Qin Yao, you should perish. I languished in the woodshed, writhing in agony, while he welcomed a tablet into his home. Who is more heartless, he or I more pitiful? This time, I knelt quietly upon the ground, neither gazing at Lu Sun nor mentioning our engagement anew. Instead, my half-sister, Qin Shuang, looked up at him with pitiful eyes, her delicate lips pressed tightly, silently weeping. He glanced back and forth between us, and upon seeing me remain silent and bowed, he turned his attention to Qin Shuang. Finally stopping before her, Shuanger is frail and cannot endure the hardships of exile. Let her remain in the capital for now. Chapter 2. I was not surprised. An unexpected calmness enveloped my heart. Yet the murmurs around us were incessant. I heard General Lu's fiancé is the second daughter of the Qin family. Why has he now chosen the eldest daughter? What eldest daughter? Qin Shuang is merely a daughter of concubine status. It was only because Madame Qin had a compassionate heart that she allowed her to remain, but who knew it would bring calamity upon her own daughter? Did you not hear? The general called her Shuang. TSK. To address an unmarried girl by her given name is quite revealing, is it not? Does this not imply a secret affair between them? At that moment, Qin Shuang had already removed her shackles and eagerly flung herself into Lu Sun's embrace. They paid no heed to the surrounding whispers, holding each other tightly, with Lu Sun gazing at her with unmasked tenderness. Their display ignited a firestorm of gossip among the Qin household, as it was I whom Lu Sun had once sought in marriage. Yet now he clung to Qin Shuang without releasing her. My mother, incensed, stepped forward to confront him. Lu Sun, the one you are betrothed to is our daughter Yaoer. The one who has cared for your ailing mother all this while is Yaoer. Now that we are in misfortune, your senior brother is dead, your master is missing, and yet you abandon Yaoer, while sparing this concubine daughter from the hardships of exile? Lu Sun, has your conscience been devoured by dogs? Lu Sun had once revered my father as his mentor, yet now that my father lay missing and my elder brother had perished on the battlefield, he uttered not a single word about it. In my previous life, I had implored him desperately to vindicate my father and uncover the truth. Yet in the end, even at the cost of my life, I awaited a resolution that never came. Faced with the surrounding gossip and my mother's inquiries, before Lu Sun could respond, Qin Shuang's eyes reddened, and she timidly hid behind him. Mother, do not blame Lu Sun. He only rescued me out of pity for my frail condition. If you and sister are unwilling, we shall return to our exile. With that, she bent to reclaim her shackles, intending to return to the ranks of the exiles. Lu Sun seized her, the last remnants of guilt vanishing from his eyes, and he glared at me with malice. This is my own military honor. I shall save whomever I wish. Saying this, without regard for the crowd's protests, he turned to leave with Qin Shuang in tow. My mother, unable to contain her anger, attempted to argue further, but I held her back. General Lu, wait. Lu Sun turned, expecting me to cling to him, his eyes filled with disdain. Qin Yao, I will save you, but not now. You had better. I scoffed, not wishing to hear his insincere words. I do not require your salvation, General Lu. I only wish to inquire, since you are bound by our engagement, why have you entangled yourself with my half-sister? What nonsense are you spouting? Yaoer, I have not. Both Lu Sun and Qin Shuang's faces paled. Am I speaking nonsense? Lu Sun, you know in your heart the truth. The illustrious general dares not claim responsibility for his actions. Ha! How blind I was to ever consider you worthy of my affection. With that, I turned my ire upon Qin Shuang. Since this pair of scoundrels has conspired to make my life miserable, let none of them find solace. My half-sister need not feign sisterly affection. If you truly held our bond dear, how could you betray me by consorting with my betrothed? Yet, since my half-sister has chosen to engage in such treachery, her pretense of virtue is utterly revolting. Upon hearing my words, Qin Shuang clutched her chest in humiliation. On the verge of collapse, Lu Sun steadied her, casting a cold glare in my direction. Qin Yao, it is I who intend to take Shuang away. Your words are merely veiled slanders. I had always believed you to be a person of reason, yet it seems you are nothing but shallow. His dismissal not only belittled my years of devotion, but also invalidated my very existence. A torrent of grievance, resentment, and sorrow surged within me, rendering my vision crimson. If I am but a trifling matter in the eyes of the general, then let him publicly annul our engagement before the entire city, returning my token of affection. You wish to annul the engagement? Chapter 3. 3. Lu Sun was evidently taken aback by my sudden declaration to dissolve our betrothal. Indeed. Not only do I wish to annul our engagement, but I also demand the restitution of the wealth, jewels, medicinal herbs, fabrics, and the medical expenses for your mother that I have sent to your general's residence over the years. If it amounts to less than 100,000, it is still at least 80,000, and you are to return every last penny to me. Qin Yao, you have gone too far. Lu Sun, in his agitation, turned red-faced, veins bulging on his forehead. I merely smiled, indifferent. In my previous life, I was willing to overlook these material possessions due to his act of saving me. Yet, for the sake of Qin Shuang, he beat me, humiliated me, and poisoned me to death. Though I currently lack the power to avenge this grudge, I shall not allow this scoundrel to benefit from my sacrifices. Sister, how can one reclaim what has been given away? Moreover, carrying such riches during the exile would only attract envy and danger from bandits along the way. Qin Shuang appeared delicate, yet was devoid of compassion. Who said that what is given away cannot be reclaimed? I regarded Qin Shuang coldly. How is it that you, a former lady of the Qin family, possess such a narrow perspective? Were I in your position, I would immediately urge Lu Sun to annul our engagement and assist him in repaying this debt. In doing so, there would be no engagement binding us, nor financial entanglements. You could enter the general's residence unencumbered and marry him without worry. Of course, should General Lu refuse to return the money. I cast a frosty glance at the two of them. There are many villages and towns along this route of exile. I would not hesitate to spread tales of General Lu's affairs and his living off the generosity of women. My words elicited laughter from the crowd, and even some of the guards escorting us crossed their arms, eager to witness the unfolding drama. A flicker of calculation flashed in Qin Shuang's eyes, though she feigned submission as she turned to Lu Sun. Lu Sun gazed at me, his contempt growing ever more palpable. Perhaps he was aggrieved by my indirect insults, or perhaps he was taken aback by my immediate demand for an annulment, showing him no respect and boldly demanding restitution. Qin Yao, do not forget you are the daughter of a traitor. You cannot carry even a single coin out of the capital. He avoided the core issues of the annulment and the repayment. Who said I intended to take anything with me? I replied, my voice clear. I intend to donate that wealth to the Xian Hall in the western part of the city. I enunciated the name Xian Hall with great emphasis, stirring the crowd into a fervor. She intends to donate the money to whom? The Xian Hall? The very place that shelters sick and disabled children? It is said that the Xian Hall was established by the virtuous king and the virtuous princess, and since the king's demise. I stood at the center of the crowd, shackles clanking, my spine straightened, my gaze unwavering. In my past life, I wandered aimlessly to survive, suffering grievously at his hands. Even in the last 2 days before I was poisoned, I toiled to manage the affairs of the general's residence. Yet, with all my investments of wealth, energy, and heartfelt emotions, what did I ultimately gain? Thus, in this life, I shall fight for myself, for my family, and for my parents one last time. If I recall correctly, at this very moment in my past life, not far from where we stood, the current Long Princess and the virtuous princess were seated by the window of a second-floor tea-house. The Long Princess and the virtuous king were siblings sharing the same mother, and their bond was profound, especially the virtuous king, who 2 years prior had shielded the emperor from a poisoned arrow during an outing, ultimately succumbing to his injuries. The emperor, grateful for the virtuous king's sacrifice, took the little heir of the virtuous king into the palace to raise him alongside the crown prince. The Long Princess frequently visited the virtuous princess to keep her company, understanding the tribulations of a woman who lost her brother and saw her nephew taken into the palace. In my past life, Lu Sun chose me. The Long Princess and the virtuous princess just happened to be in that tea house, leading to the Long Princess praising Lu Sun for his loyalty and righteousness. This not only earned him a commendable reputation but also caught the emperor's attention. In this life, I shall ensure he is buried under the weight of that very reputation. Qin Yao, are you truly intent on annulling our engagement? Are you truly this heartless? Lu Sun, perhaps sensing my resolve, softened his tone. I know you are angry that I saved Qin Shuang first, but rest assured. No need, I interrupted. Annul the engagement and return the money. Upon hearing this, Lu Xun's face turned crimson, his voice dripping with malice as he threatened. Qin Yao, do not forget you are the daughter of a traitor. Anything could happen during the journey of exile. If you do not wish to, with a resounding crack, though I was shackled, it did not hinder my ability to strike. The iron chain lashed against Lu Xun, my palm delivering a vengeful slap to his face. My eyes burned with fury. You beast. Anyone may call me the daughter of a traitor, but you are the last who should utter such words. You were taught by my father. Do you not know what kind of man he was? He served the court and the emperor with utmost loyalty and diligence. And even my only brother perished at the hands of the enemy. How could my father possibly conspire with traitors? You do not lift a finger to clear his name. Yet you dare threaten us, a mother and her orphan child? You scoundrel, you wretch. My words dripped with anguish. And even the guards escorting us regarded Lu Xun with newfound disdain. You vile woman. How dare you strike me? Lu Xun instinctively raised his hand to retaliate. Just as a resounding voice rang out from behind the crowd, the Long Princess has arrived. The virtuous princess is here. Lu Xun retracted his hand, glaring at me with a fierce intensity before kneeling to pay his respects. I knelt on the ground, maintaining a calm demeanor, though my heart raced like a drum. You are indeed the daughter of the esteemed General Qin Yao. A gentle voice carried an inherent authority. This humble daughter, Qin Yao, pays her respects to Her Royal Highness the Long Princess and Her Royal Highness the Virtuous Princess. I slowly raised my gaze. The Long Princess appeared as regal and imposing as in my past life, while the Virtuous Princess exuded a gentle warmth. I have heard you wish to annul your engagement with General Lu due to his failure to save you, instead rescuing your half-sister? The Long Princess inquired. In response to Her Royal Highness, regardless of whom General Lu saves with his military prowess, this humble daughter holds no grievances. My desire to annul the engagement stems from other reasons. Oh, pray tell, what reasons? The Virtuous Princess seemed genuinely intrigued. In response to Her Royal Highness and the Virtuous Princess, I bow deeply and declare, General Lu, while binding himself to me in marriage, has secretly communicated with my half-sister, which constitutes disloyalty. My father treated him as his own son, imparting martial skills and the ways of the battlefield. Yet, he disregarded my family's dignity and treated the Qin household with contempt, which is an act of inhumanity. While he fought on the battlefield, I was the one sending him money and provisions to alleviate his crises. When his mother fell gravely ill, it was I who sought out renowned physicians and spent a fortune on her treatment. Yet now, whether it be the annulment or the repayment, he fails to mention either, which is an act of injustice. Such a disloyal, inhumane, and unjust individual is unworthy of being my fiancé. I implore Her Royal Highness and the Virtuous Princess to take this matter to heart and annul this engagement. Lu Xun's complexion turned a deep shade of red, veins throbbing on his forehead, his gaze fixed on me with a piercing hatred. After all, the weight of disloyalty, inhumanity, and injustice had nearly severed his future prospects. It would appear that General Lu indeed proves unworthy of a good match, showing himself to be rather ungrateful. The Virtuous Princess spoke softly, her lips curling into a smile that did not reach her eyes. The Long Princess raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised that the Virtuous Princess would speak on behalf of a traitor's daughter. Qin Yao, do you know what being rejected in marriage signifies for a woman? In response to Her Royal Highness, this humble daughter is aware. I continued to bow respectfully. Those who are rejected in marriage may be sequestered in family temples for reflection, sent to monasteries for penance, or face scorn and gossip, living a life forever under the dim glow of a solitary lamp. Knowing this, are you not afraid? I shook my head. This humble daughter fears nothing. If a man is disloyal, inhumane, and unjust, even if he is a hero of unparalleled caliber, I, Qin Yao, would not deign to cast him a second glance. In a previous life, it was my awareness of the implications of a woman's engagement being annulled that compelled me to broach the subject of the betrothal with Lu Xun. Yet, I am a person who has already faced death. What fear can possibly hold sway over me now? Very well, I shall exhibit fortitude. Beside me, the Virtuous Princess consort regarded me with eyes alight with fervor, not merely a glimmer, but a fervent glow akin to that of a wolf fixated upon a bone, sending a shiver down my spine. Unexpectedly, amidst the native women of the inner court, there exists such a singularity as myself. I was perplexed. What did the princess consort mean by singularity? I considered myself merely an ordinary woman of the capital S inner chambers. Moreover, with my family facing calamity, who could predict whether tomorrow would bring fortune or misfortune? Lu Sun, what say you? The gaze of the grand princess turned toward him, cool and measured. Kneeling upon the ground, Lu Sun's voice emerged from between clenched teeth. I, your servant, do not wish to annul the engagement. If he were to withdraw from the engagement now, it would bring him nothing but harm and no benefit to the General S household. With the Qin family in distress, should he choose this moment to retreat, he would undoubtedly become the subject of ridicule. When Qin Yao openly demanded money from him in front of everyone, if he were to break the engagement and offer nothing in return, he would be derided as ungrateful, a fate he could not abide. Moreover, just moments ago, Qin Yao had dared to strike him. Once she entered the household, he would personally teach her a lesson, so she might understand the hierarchy of husband and wife. Seeing that Lu Sun remained unperturbed, a deeper chill enveloped my heart. Lu Sun was self-serving and treacherous, each of his steps calculated for gain. As a general and a man, how could he, fully aware of the advantages he possessed, expect me to wear a smile of gratitude? Is it not too cold-hearted and unfeeling? You are not unaware of the hardships women endure in this world. My eyes brimmed with tears as I bowed deeply before the Grand Princess. Your Highness, I beseech you, I seek only to dissolve the engagement with Lu Sun. As for the financial matters, I shall only reclaim the 80,000 taels. The remainder shall be regarded as compensation for the blindness I have endured over these years. What? 80,000 taels? You are asking for a king's ransom. Qin Shuang instinctively raised her voice, drawing the unfriendly gazes of both the Grand Princess and the Princess Consort upon her. Inwardly, I cursed her folly. Did she not realize what had sustained the life of old Lady Lu all these years? It was I who had procured century-old ginseng with hard-earned gold, a ginseng-nourishing pill worth 200 taels, and the ever-ready Dr. Zhang of the capital S apothecary. Year after year, day after day, for a full 3 years. Did she still consider my request exorbitant? Furthermore, this man who feasted upon my wealth had benefited in more ways than one. I cast a scornful glance at the still-stunned Lu Sun. 2 winters ago, when blizzards had sealed the roads leading to the military camp where Lu Sun was stationed, causing a shortage of provisions, it was I who paid double the price to hire the Hui escort to transport 800 dan of grain through the snow. In addition to procuring 5,000 taels worth of medicinal supplies from the apothecary for the journey. Do you truly believe that these expenses amounted to less than 80,000 taels? They exceeded that sum by far. The princess consort regarded me with a gaze fraught with complexity. Foolish girl, do you require my assistance in gathering herbs? Huh. I was momentarily taken aback. The princess consort continued, you possess an innate talent for foraging, quite the romantic idealist. I was unfamiliar with the reference to Wang Baochuan, nor did I comprehend the correlation between foraging and romantic notions, but I sensed it was not a compliment. Lu Sun, if hearts align, they shall gather, if not, they shall part. If you are indeed a man, return her the engagement token, the promise, and the funds. Would that not facilitate your dalliance with your charming little beauty? The princess consort cast a fleeting glance at Qin Shuang, who, pale as a ghost, shuffled behind Lu Sun. After all, she was of lowly birth, lacking nobility. At this moment, the Grand Princess interjected. Since the princess consort has spoken, Lu Sun, I hereby grant you permission to dissolve your engagement with Qin Yao. Return the token and the funds. Though reluctant, Lu Sun, under the pressure of both the Grand Princess and the princess consort, had no choice but to acquiesce. Yet, when his gaze fell upon me, it was laced with venom, as if he wished to pierce me through with his glare. Little did he anticipate that I, the daughter of a condemned traitor, would exert such significant influence over the General S household and his reputation. Lu Sun departed, leading Qin Shuang amidst the scornful jeers and pointed fingers of the populace. With the Grand Princess and the Princess Consort still present, the officers dared not press forward to hasten their departure. Meanwhile, my mother, unnoticed by me until now, had already knelt before the Grand Princess and the Princess Consort, repeatedly bowing in supplication. I implore your Highness and the Princess Consort, please save my daughter, she cried. She is not yet 17. If she accompanies us into exile, who knows what fate awaits her? Mother, what are you doing? I exclaimed, tears finally spilling forth as I witnessed my mother's forehead bleed from her fervent bowing. I prostrated myself before the Grand Princess and the Princess Consort. Your Highness, esteemed Princess Consort, I fear neither exile nor death, but I must voice my father's injustice. My father, a man of unwavering integrity, remains loyal to the Emperor and the court, and would never betray his country.
Now,
With my elder brother fallen in battle and my father missing, my Qin family suffers a grave injustice. In my past life, my elder brother perished, my father vanished, and the Imperial Guard descended upon the Qin residence, armed with the so-called treasonous documents, leading to the Emperor's decree that the Qin family be exiled 3,000 miles away. From the onset of the incident to our banishment, and finally to my demise at Lu Xun's hands, barely 2 months had elapsed. The intricate details had long since faded amidst the terror, yet now, in reflection, it seemed there were elements I had overlooked. To remain, to survive within the capital. Only then could I uncover the truth. I advanced on my knees. Princess Consort, though I am unworthy, I am fortunate to have received my ancestors' blessings and have studied under great scholars. I can recognize a few characters. I am willing to care for the children at the Qian Hall and teach them knowledge. Furthermore, regarding the 80,000 taels, I promised to donate it to the charitable hall, and I shall not renege on my word. I was aware that since the late prince's passing, the heir had entered the palace. The princess consort had established the capital's brocade weaving bureau, embroidery institute, and dyeing workshop, employing women who had been abandoned, left destitute, or wronged by societal reputation. I clung to hope, yearning to be among those women. I beseeched the princess consort for her grace, to save me and the Qin family. Silence enveloped the crowd, the onlookers rendered mute. After an indeterminate time, a sigh broke the stillness. Very well, the princess consort said, turning to the grand princess.
Shihi,
You claim that Lu Xun's military merits are worth Qin Shuang's life. What shall I offer in exchange for Qin Yao's life? The grand princess fell silent. Perhaps you should simply present the 80,000 taels to His Majesty. That is unacceptable. Those 80,000 taels represent 2 years' worth of provisions for the children, and I have also secured them an excellent teacher. Since you have made your decision, why seek my counsel? The grand princess lifted her leg and entered the carriage. The princess consort, with a gentle smile, turned to me. My capabilities are limited. I can only save one of you. Go bid farewell to your mother. Report to the Qian Hall tomorrow. With that, she turned and entered the carriage, instructing the driver. To the palace. I remained, once again choosing to stay in the capital on the day of exile. This time, I would not be at the mercy of the general's household, nor would I serve them morning and evening, nor endure daily humiliation and beatings, nor face death by poison. I relinquished all my valuables to the officers escorting me, asking them to care for my family along the way. The officers were remarkably kind. Miss, we hold the late general and the young general in high regard. We shall take extra care of the Qin family. I was deeply moved. If they had been so benevolent in my past life, why did Qin Shuang leap into the river and take her own life? Who had spun the web of lies? As I was escorted 10 miles, the time for parting arrived. Before darkness fell, I returned to my home through the unsealed rear gate, gazing upon the familiar sights and sounds, and I could no longer contain my sorrow, breaking down into inconsolable tears. Little did I expect Lu Xun to be so despicable. That night, as I lay in slumber, I awoke to find Lu Xun looming above me, a knife poised at my throat. He meant to kill me. In my previous life, Lu Xun's temperament grew increasingly savage following the death of his half-sister, leading him to lash out at me on occasion. Thus, I remained hypervigilant in my slumber, awakening at the slightest indication of his presence. At that time, Lu Xun appeared clad in black, his countenance twisted with brutality as he fixed his gaze upon me. Awake.
are you?
I never expected you to remain in the capital without my assistance. It seems I underestimated you, he remarked. Lying in bed, fully clothed, I met his gaze with an unflinching calmness. Lu Xun, do you still recall the first lesson imparted by my father? A warrior's blade ought only to be drawn against foes on the battlefield, not against comrades or the innocent, be they young or old. Silence. Lu Xun snarled, forcefully covering my mouth and dragging me to the ground. Had you obediently accepted your exile and awaited my rescue, I would have no need for violence against you. I confess, a part of me still harbors pity for you once cared for my mother, and we were betrothed. Yet now, before the public eye, you have renounced our engagement and demanded riches from me, leaving me utterly humiliated." As his anger peaked, a venomous glare shone in his eyes. "Only upon your demise will my past be forgotten, allowing me to marry Schwanger without shame." My hand instinctively rested at my side, where I pinched the soft flesh of my thigh, tears welling up in my eyes as I choked back sobs. "Lu Sun, we grew up together, and my father was your mentor. Yet, for the sake of Qin Shuang, you would seek to take my life. A woman's tears are the most potent of weapons." And I wept pitifully, collapsing against him in breathless sobs. In the moment of his bewilderment, I deftly brandished a plum blossom hairpin, driving it unhesitatingly into his chest. "Ah! You wretched creature! You ambushed me!" Lu Sun exclaimed, retaliating with a forceful blow. I rolled aside, my face devoid of tears now. "Lu Sun, if I were you, I would refrain from resorting to violence, for that hairpin is laced with poison. Should you choose to engage, the toxin will permeate your body more swiftly, hastening your demise." None are privy to the fact that prior to my return home, I secretly sought out Physician Zhang. My father had once saved his life, and this poison hairpin was a weapon he provided for my self-defense. Alas, it is not a deadly poison, but it would certainly inflict considerable suffering upon Lu Sun. "You are truly vicious," he muttered, feeling dizzy. "In terms of cruelty, I cannot compete with you. For to watch your mentor be wronged without a hint of compassion, one must either be born heartless or have ulterior motives. So tell me, Lu Sun, which are you?" His pupils constricted, a flicker of panic crossed his face, only to vanish as swiftly as it appeared. He glared at me before leaping out of the window. I remained in the shadows, biting my lip until blood filled my mouth. My suspicions were confirmed. Lu Sun was indeed connected to my father's demise. Since my rebirth, I have relentlessly replayed the events of my past life. In that life, I was saved by Lu Sun from exile, instinctively viewing him as my ally. I tended to his ailing mother, managed the affairs of the general's estate, and urged him to investigate the circumstances surrounding my father's betrayal and the identities of those responsible. Yet, even until my death, Lu Sun uncovered not a single clue. Ironically, during those 2 months, fortune smiled upon him, elevating him to the status of a new noble in the capital. Later, while imprisoned in a woodshed, I overheard servants whispering about the Prince of Rome visiting the general's estate, casting a glow upon the entire household. Reflecting on it now, with no battles at the borders, how did Lu Sun ascend to such heights and align himself with the Prince of Rome? It appears that everything had a traceable origin. I was simply blind at that time. Chapter 7. The following day, I visited the residence of the Prince of Xian, where I engaged in discourse with the princess for nearly 2 hours in her study. Upon leaving, my eyes were red-rimmed, while her carriage headed directly to the residence of the Grand Princess. "I do not rescue you for the sake of those 80,000 taels, but rather because you dare to challenge antiquated customs and break free from shackles, providing women in this world with a different choice. By following me, you must learn to seize control of your own destiny. I hope you may witness the vastness of the world, no longer confined to the sorrows of a harem." These were the words imparted to me by the Princess of Xian. She spoke of women's right to education, to be versed in the wisdom of ages, and to comprehend the transformations of past and present. She spoke of women's ability to engage in commerce, traversing mountains and rivers to behold the grandeur of the world. She spoke of the weighty responsibilities that come with determination and the royal family's duty to the common people. She expressed her respect for heroes, especially those who protect their homeland, insisting that heroes should not be made to shed blood, sweat, and tears in vain. Her numerous insights stirred my heart, leaving me speechless with emotion. After gathering my thoughts, I made my way to the charity hall, where I encountered Qin Shuang at the entrance. Dressed in opulent attire, her eyes bore the marks of fatigue and distress. "Sister, I have finally awaited your arrival," Qin Shuang exclaimed. "Lu Sun has been injured and poisoned, and Lady Lu's condition has worsened. I sought out Physician Zhang, but he persistently refused." "Does this concern me?" I interrupted her. "It has only been 1 night, and you can scarcely endure it. Once you wed Lu Sun, such days will be your daily reality." I turned to leave, but she halted me once more. Sister, as a frail woman, I cannot shoulder the burden of the general's estate. I beseech you, for the sake of our past, to save Lu Sun. Her plea struck me as absurd. I cannot save him, but there is one who can. Who? The Prince of Rome. Lu Sun is concerned with appearances and cannot approach the prince for assistance, but you can. At the mention of the Prince of Rome, Qin Shuang's eyes sparkled with hope. As a daughter of a traitor, I fear I may not even meet the prince. I suppressed a derisive laugh. Indeed, the Prince of Rome, noble and strikingly handsome, has countless noble women in the capital who linger near his residence, yearning for a glimpse, hoping to be graced with the title of his consort. If you were to approach him recklessly, he would surely refuse to see you. However what? She asked eagerly. I smiled and said, however, if you possess a letter from the Prince of Rome addressed to Lu Sun, bearing that letter to the prince's residence would guarantee you an audience. With that, I departed swiftly. I knew Qin Shuang all too well. She relied on her beauty, believing herself to be above all. Lu Sun was not her best choice. Should she encounter a man of higher status, power, or appearance, she would not hesitate to cast him aside. I merely needed to station someone outside the general's estate, waiting for her to ensnare herself. Chapter 8. I met with the Princess of Xian 2 days later, accompanied by the Grand Princess. They informed me that the initial overseer of my father's case was none other than the Prince of Rome. Just yesterday, the Emperor dispatched individuals to investigate the matter discreetly, with both the prince's and the general's estates under surveillance. Should the Prince of Rome truly wish to exploit his power for personal gain and betray the loyal, the Emperor would not take it lightly. I knelt in gratitude, praying for the swift resolution of this calamity. 3 days later, I heard that an undercover woman had been apprehended outside the general's estate, and under interrogation, letters revealing correspondence between Lu Sun and the Prince of Rome were discovered. The alliance between the general and the prince has always been a forbidden topic for the emperor. The general's estate was besieged, and the prince was summoned to the palace for a discussion. As the storm clouds gathered, a month passed. During this time, I continued to teach the children at the charity hall, conducted my own investigations, and maintained contact with the Princess of Xian, until one afternoon, I was summoned to the palace. Within the palace, I beheld my father, aged and wearied, and learned the full account of events. During his period of disappearance, he had infiltrated the enemy camp, slaying their commander and compelling them to retreat and agree to a ceasefire treaty. The emperor, overjoyed, conferred upon my father the title of protector of the nation, and my exiled mother and the Qin family were brought back to the capital. From a traitor's daughter, I had transformed into an object of envy among the populace. I continued to visit the charity hall daily to teach the children, and during my leisure, I assisted the princess in managing her various enterprises. The Grand Princess established a women's academy, and I also took part in educating those women in knowledge. I had not thought of Lu Sun and Qin Shuang for quite some time, until the princess sought me out to inform me that Qin Shuang had been brutally beaten to death by Lu Sun in prison. It is said that as he struck her, he cried out in anguish, declaring that it was all wrong. He should be the great general, not a prisoner in chains. He lamented that had it not been for Qin Shuang's feigned death in a past life, he would not have committed a mistake that would haunt him for eternity. Lu Sun pleaded with the jailer for a chance to see me, but I resolutely declined his request. Instead, I instructed the jailer to deliver to him a token, a vial of the very poison he had once forced upon me in a previous life. Subsequently, I heard that Lu Sun, clutching the poison, screamed for retribution before taking his own life. At that moment, I was galloping freely across the horse grounds, chasing after the rising sun. The end of the tale. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again in the next story.